just because of that stuff, the answer is not to drop out, and the answer is not to not go entirely.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the MentorZ podcast. I'm your host, Ava Wettrick. Here on this show, we talk to luminaries from around the world to discuss their journey towards success and what wisdom they have to offer the younger generation. Each episode, we have on a new guest, a new story, and a new path towards personal success. I hope you're ready, and I hope you enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to MentorZ. Today, we have on Jordan Paris. Jordan is a 22-year-old author, podcast host, web developer, and former college athlete. Jordan's podcast, Growth Mindset University, is ranked 6th in Apple's self-improvement category, 3rd in the training category, 5th in the how-to category, and in education, one of Apple's most competitive categories. The show was ranked at 15th. On Growth Mindset University, he interviews young up-and-comers and the most successful people on earth, like James Altucher, Manson, and Naveen Jain. Jordan also founded the WordPress Rocketeer, where he focuses on developing engaging websites to launch his clients' dreams to infinity and beyond. Now, he and his team have shifted their focus for doing marketing for serious podcasters. Jordan's approach to life and business is simple yet powerful. Don't make a living, design a life. With his creator's mentality, Jordan has been able to produce outstanding results for himself and challenge others to rise above the circumstances, break the mold of society, and take control of their lives. Without further ado, Jordan Paris. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to MentorZ. Today we have on Jordan Paris. Jordan, thank you so much for being on.
It is my distinct pleasure to be with my buddy Ava.
Oh my gosh.
I'm really happy that you asked me to be on.
I am too. After I just had a interesting revelation a week or two ago, and I was like, why have I not talked to all my friends? Why have I not interviewed all my friends? So I just really wanted to come on and take the time to say thank you, because you're such a big influence on my podcasting journey, and to have you on and ask you some interesting questions and have some great dialogue, because we just got done talking about, we caught up a lot on life.
I know, we were just catching up for like 20, 30 minutes.
And I enjoyed that. So again, a question that I always ask my guests in the beginning is, what's your origin story? Where were you? And how did you get to where you are today?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I was, I was just a normal high school kid that, I had one friend throughout high school. His name was Peter. Had no more, no less friends than that. And I was left to fend for myself because I never had a class or lunch with him. So I was solo dolo, and it was a really tough experience, like depressed a little bit, like a lot of high school kids. My story is not anything out of the ordinary as far as high school goes, but that's where I started. I had this high school job, and I actually just posted I posted about it today. I found a picture from February 25th, 2014, me with my Justin Bieber hair in my black pants and black button-down shirt, tucked in, ready to go to work as a busser at Firebird's Wood Fire Grill. And that was my first real job. I mean, I had a camp counselor job before that, but it was like, you make $200 for a summer, so like 120 hours of work. Like I get like $200. It was like child labor. It's like slave labor. It was kind of sketchy, actually. It's probably super super illegal. But I was like, I was like 15 too. Yeah. So anyway, I had this job, and realized. I was a good employee. Like I cleaned the drains even when I wasn't asked. I did everything I was told to do, like clean piss off the floor in the bathrooms, because the urinals had a really weird design where they're literally like in the ground, so there's pee everywhere. And so I have a lot of experience cleaning that up in case anyone wants to hire me for that. And I have, and then I was pretty quick with busting the tables. So I was a good employee, worked my way up to server. When I turned 18, then I could become a server. And after 2 years, though, I said, never again. Never will I ever work for anyone again. I just knew I wouldn't be happy. And there's no hierarchy here of, working for yourself is better. Like I'm holier than thou, like that's not, it's like whatever you want, go do it. Just know why you want it though. And I wanted to work for myself because I knew that was going to be be a much more fulfilling path for me. And so I started figuring out what I wanted to do, and had some time, because there was a couple of months when I wasn't working before high school ended. So I had, I was still on my parents' dime, I had the freedom to just do nothing, right? And I wanted to be a personal trainer, so I reached out to a celebrity personal trainer in Los Angeles, got on the phone with him, and pretty much interviewed him for 60 minutes, and then asked him if I could work for him for free that summer. And and fast forward, I mean, he's one of my best friends now, Steve Jordan, even though he's twice my age, and I learned everything. I learned the ropes of, this guy's trained Jordan Belfort, who I actually was just listening to on a podcast before I got on here, and Tobey Maguire, Ariana Huffington, Brad Paisley. I could name drop all day. He's trained him, and so I learned the ropes. I learned everything from even the little things, like brand consistency. If you're going to charge $200 per hour, Ava, you can't walk in with a Dasani water bottle. You have to have it's got to be at least a Fiji water bottle. Everything, and you can't wear gym shorts and a gym shirt. It's got to be Lululemon pants and a Lululemon shirt. You almost like business casual, but for world-class personal trainers, So I learned all of that, and I became a trainer myself with in-home clients the way he had. And I was, so I had in-home clients and was making my own money for the first time. And, $60 per hour as a freshman in college was really cool. I was very happy with myself, considering everyone else at this age is making $10 per hour. So if that, so I really thought that that's what it was going to be for me. And I was going to, build this big YouTube presence and sell online programs. And, at its peak, I had 72 online clients, but it was single one-off payments for the most part. So I made money, and then it was it. And I didn't have any recurring. So it was just a really poor business model. And then I was like, I don't really I want to get better than this. I'm working for myself, but I want to stop trading time for money directly here. I don't want to do this. So my career, my career evolved. What I liked changed and evolved. And I don't know. I just wrote some books and started a podcast, and with no real plan, but things evolved from there. And now I got the marketing and production agency for podcasters. So that's what I do. I help podcasters all day. And right now I'm building out this awesome coaching program that is pretty much going to be success to significance for high level executives. They've been there, done that, they've made the money, but nobody really knows them. And so I'm building out some stuff for that right now, and I got people helping me with that, and I'm looking forward to that next endeavor while keeping everything else going on. This is just an addition. This is not replacing anything. So yeah, you got me going with the origin story there. I just gave you a lot.
No, that's fantastic. I legitimately have had some guests come on, and Dove Barron literally started it off. He's like, yeah, I found out my mom's vagina a couple years back, and I'll tell you from up there. He gave me his whole life story, and I thought it was phenomenal. So no, and I love things like that. You've been on a really interesting journey that I've gotten to watch over the years, especially in terms of just college, because you're in your senior year now, and that's fantastic. I think you're graduating in May. Yeah
May 4th. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So in those when it comes to college, and you were already making really good money as a freshman, what drew you towards college? What were some positives that you found? What were some negatives that you found? And after almost 4 years, you're about to leave soon. What are some of the biggest takeaways?
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just went because I didn't have options. Like Jeremy Miller, we know, had options coming out of high school, and he really didn't have to go to college, and he didn't, and it's going pretty well. So I didn't have that. I didn't have anything going on. So it was and I was, the parent, the son of a doctor and nurse, and many health professional doctors in my family, and lawyers, and it was expected. it was a given that I'd be going to college. Like there really wasn't an option. So I went, and I started realizing as time went on, towards the end of freshman year, going into sophomore year, I was like, I don't think I really need this entirely. I don't know that this is that I'm pretty sure if I dropped out right now, I'm pretty sure I'd be all right. And I said that to my friend too in the car one day, and Patrick, and he's like, "Yeah, you know what? You might be right." And from there, I was like, you know what? I said grades are illusions, and this is sophomore year, and I had a 3.61 at that point. And as soon as I said grades were illusions, as soon as I realized that, I went down to like 2.8, real quick. And that,
Oh, I could imagine.
but my life, the way from 3.6 to 2.8, the way my life changed in that time period is just like my life exploded into change in the best possible way. Started studying less, socializing more, studying less, writing more, studying less, reading more of what I want to read instead of from a textbook. I put the way Seth Godin puts it in his TED Talk, "Stop Stealing Dreams." When someone wants to learn about baseball, they don't go to the bookstore and say, "Oh, do you have the latest gripping textbook? Do you have one of those textbooks?" No one does that, number one. And number two, they also, what else they don't do? Let me memorize the top 50 players according to batting average in order. Nobody does that, but that's the way we learn in school. That if that's how we learned baseball, if that's how baseball was like taught, everyone would, people would hate baseball. Like, and so it's no wonder like the morale of students and my peers around me is just really, really low. Like people don't understand why the heck they're here, why they're doing this, and I was very much that way. But at the same time, there's so much to get out of the college experience, and this is what this is sort of without spoiling too much of it. The premise of my TED Talk coming up in March is, college, despite its obvious shortcomings, there's still a heck of a lot to get out of it, and it's up to us, taking personal responsibility to make the most out of it. Just because we pay for it doesn't mean it's going to show up. So, and it's about knowing your ROI. As I was talking with your father the other week about that, and that's something that we've both been talking about for a long time. Knowing your ROI. I mean, big advocate for putting a basic financial plan down on paper instead of aimlessly picking a major and aimlessly taking out tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans with again, no aim. Like, let's think, if I pick this major, what kind of job can I get with that major? And how much money am I going to be making in that job? What's the average starting salary, and how does it progress over time? Let's compare that with what I'm going to be paying in tuition. Am I going to be paying tuition, or are my parents going to be helping me? How much am I going to need to take out student loans? If so, how much? And how long am I going to be paying back those student loans? Like, let's, it probably involves about an hour on like one night, 1 weeknight, an hour, just before college to like figure this stuff out. Sit down, figure it out, do some estimates, and think about this before going into it. But that's not happening, and you see we have $1.65 trillion in student loan debt. 42.5 million Americans owe an average of $38,887. What are the implications of this? Well, it's really hard to buy a home as a young person and have children when you have that kind of debt. And that's just this is just student loan debt. This is not like credit card. This is not like everything, and what more implications of it are, we're coming up on this decade, a massive shortage of doctors, because the average, coming out of medical school, the average student loan debt is $196,000. Like, it's really intimidating. Like, I wouldn't want to become you'd have to kill me. I don't know. I'm not doing that.
It used to come to the point where it was outweighed, right? Because my mom is a nurse practitioner. She's in the field, and it used to be where you could get out of that debt because you can make so much money where it makes sense because over
Doctors,
time
yeah.
you'd be okay. But like, it's so scary because with the increase of medical help that a lot of people need in the US and the shortage of doctors that we're about to experience, no, that we are already experiencing, nurses and doctors both, like, and it's all, and a lot of it has to do with debt. A lot of it has to do with debt. It's so scary. It's so intimidating that people just can't take the time to learn because they can't afford it. And the debt just accumulates and it's too much. Like the fact that we can't get out of it in the American system is awful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can't declare bankruptcy on it. So, like kids are lining up outside to get student loans. Like it's Halloween. I got this picture that I'm including in my talk. It's me as a freaking 6-year-old with like all my neighbors. I don't know who took this picture, but I'm like first in line, and there's like a line of kids outside this door, and that's literally
That's all
what
it
it
feels.
is. No question. It's like, we say trick or treat, and this student loan debt, it's a trick if you don't know what you're doing, if you're aimless about it, if you're not intentional about it, it's a real trick. But it doesn't have to be. And the answer, is, just because the tuition's up 1,100% in the past since 1978, and food and healthcare are only up 400 and 600% respectively in that same time period. Just because of that stuff, the answer is not to drop out, and the answer is not to not go entirely. I'd be lying if I said, the past 4 years of my life were not life changing, in part, not wholly, but in part because of this environment of a college campus.
Absolutely. And that's something I really want to dig into because I'm at the very beginning of that, of experiencing it. It's very exciting. And how have you as an individual found yourself out of that matrix? Because I can look around and can also see college seniors doing the dumb things that they did as a freshman, or going out and living aimlessly and unintentionally and just drifting throughout life. Or you can make it whatever you want to make it, really embrace who you are, go through a lot of personal growth and change, and come out a better person. What were those stepping stones that you took to find that personal discovery and to have those amazing 4 years?
Yeah, well, I think it was just the blessing of that realization that grades were illusions, and that it's just a number on a screen. Like, I don't actually care. But the quest for an A, there has to be a higher purpose to it. It goes back to knowing what you want and why you want it. There's got to be a higher purpose other than just getting the A. If you know that getting that A is going to get you into medical school, that's going to propel you to your dream of becoming a doctor and saving lives, then get that A, because you're going to need it to get into medical school, and you're going to need it for that higher purpose of yours. If your intention is to become an entrepreneur, then study less and socialize more. Study less, experience more, go do things. And it doesn't mean getting sloshed at the bar every weekend. I had my hands full. I was, at your age, I was literally right now, I was a freshman. I was as president of my residence hall. So right, that was a lot of fun. I essentially, like, I don't know, I just came in with, like, my biggest thing was like putting on events and then having people vote on it, and then having them figure it out, all the details. But I would just like had these ideas for events, and then and I was in athletics, and I was in I was in a fraternity. So I had friends from every sphere of campus, every angle. That covers like I had the Greek life, I had the athletics. Like, I was friends with the basketball players, which, as a high school loser months prior, it was really cool. And and watching them on TV months prior,
Oh, yeah.
Cool, like in the tournament. Yeah. Now they're not good anymore. But when I was cheering, they were really good. and they would make the tournament.
Well, correlation, causation.
Yeah, as soon as I left, they started doing bad. But the other correlation there is that the coach, the longtime coach, had left, and that I think that's why. And then everyone like transferred. But it was, again, it was probably me leaving. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
but like, yeah, knowing what you want and why you want it. And the reason grades are illusions, there's this study out there. It's really easy to find. Just look up valedictorians aren't successful. And you'll see that there is a study done. 81 valedictorians and salutatorians, so first and second in their class, were followed for 14 years upon graduation. And 90% of them are working now in professional careers. 40% of them are near the top of their field, right? So like they're high performers in their industry. But none of them, zero, ended up doing anything spectacular. They're never the world changers. They're very middling, very average almost. And why is this? Because school and this isn't even like, this is true outside of those 81 people too, because grades are only loosely at best correlated with intelligence. And so why are valedictorians very middling? Well, it's because schools reward conformity, obedience, doing what you're told, pleasing teachers. Getting the grade might not mean, the correct thing. It might just mean agreeing with your teacher's political bias in a lot of cases too. For example, like, sociology classes and gender studies classes, where 17.6% of those professors self-identify as Marxist. And I've had those. I've had the Marxist professors, and I don't mean, and I have, yes, and I got to write these essays, and I got to BS it, and to get the grade. I remember doing that many times. So it's not always. So grades are not always. They're just not an accurate reflection of intelligence. They're just not. And so, know what you want, why you want it, the quest for an A. I think it's worth questioning, why do you want that A? And ironically, the answer to that question is not being graded.
Oh, absolutely. And, I love how you brought up the Marxist professors. I have found myself in a fun situation where I have a professor who is an anarchist. And he said it the first day, he's like, I think I'm an anarchist. I think the world should burn. And I don't believe in God. And so I was like, wow, this is going to be a really fun class. So if I also think the world should burn, maybe I'll get an A in the class.
Do you mind sharing what class it is, what the subject is?
Yeah, economics.
Okay, wow, interesting.
I know. So he was like, it's all about the study of choice. So we're just going to study how people choose things, but also I don't care. So we were like, oh, we're like, this is okay, cool. So it's been a super, super interesting dynamic to watch. And I'm so excited for my audience to kind of learn these things from you and pick up these things from you. Because again, an A doesn't matter. People have been telling me in college that like they don't even look at your GPA after you get that slip of paper after you get that degree.
Sure, a lot of and yes, and I've heard that too. A lot of my friends are like, because I had a lot of older friends, number one, and number two, now I'm old, so I have a lot of these friends applying to jobs, getting jobs, and everyone tells me my GPA was not even considered or looked at. Now, I will say, yesterday I saw it, that 67% of employers check grades, GPA. I don't know how true it is. I can't even tell you the source. That's just what I think I saw. And I was like, it might be true, So again, knowing what you want, why you want it. And you might it might matter. GPA might matter depending on the field of interest. It might, but I think in all likelihood probably won't, especially with your father talks about the gig economy and how we're really shifting to that in a large way. Like I forget the numbers, like 40 to 50% is like I have no idea. He can speak to that, but but I think it's just mattering less and less.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's a really interesting time we found ourselves in life. A lot of young people are shifting from college to doing it on their own or dropping out. And again, we have friends like that too, who have never gone to college, or maybe they dropped out their sophomore, junior year and they decided to go on their own route. However, I don't know how obtainable that is for the majority of the youth population.
Keyword majority, yes.
Yeah, if there was an opportunity or a circumstance, maybe it'd be made up in your mind, like, hey, this is the perfect scenario, or there's actually an obtainable source. What are some alternatives the majority of young people can take on where they can get a great experience work-wise, as like self-development wise, without having to spend like tens of thousands of dollars at a university?
Yeah, I mean, I love the apprenticeship model,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I was working under that trainer, and I learned the ropes and I learned the business model. And even at one point, if I wanted it, he was gonna give me the studio. Granted, like I'd have to chip in a little on like the equipment, because he spent a lot of money on the equipment in there. It's depreciated a little bit, so it wouldn't be like a ton of money for me. But yeah, at one point I was like, that's my destiny. Years ago I thought, and so I don't know. I created that opportunity for myself at 18 years old. Like I was gonna like inherit this great studio, but yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan of the apprenticeship model. And I hate to keep bringing up Don, but like, yeah,
You're fine.
I really,
He's a mentor to you and a mentor to me. Come on.
yeah, exactly, yeah. But yeah, I know he's a big fan of the apprenticeship model as well, and we've talked about it on my podcast. Go figure out like who's doing what you're doing, who's doing what you want to do, and reach out to a bunch of people that are doing exactly what you want to do, and go ask to work for them, or better yet, like because I went out for the first time in 2 years. I went out like, yeah, I mean, I go out, but like I went out to like the college bar for the first time in 2 years on Wednesday. I had, over a span of 5 hours, 3 drinks, so I wasn't drunk, but I was there, and I was talking with someone, and someone that I was, she's an old teammate of mine on the cheer team, and she's like adamant all night about like being an intern for me, and she's like, I don't even want pay, I'll be a free intern. And I'm like, hit me up tomorrow, like show me you're for real. And she actually did end up hitting me up yesterday, and she's serious about it, and she just wants to learn the ropes. And but I'm not a fan of free internships, because I just know inevitably she's going to get sick of it and flame out if it's a free internship. Like it's just not going to work. If you know yourself that like working for free for an extended period of time, like you're going to be okay, and you're not going to be like, screw this, then by all means, like offer it for free. But I don't know. I'm a big believer in like slightly paid internships. It doesn't have to be a ton of money, but at least a little bit. And then also, this person, the reason I bring up the story is that she just wants to work for me for free. She didn't tell me what she wants to do. And now, so it's become this homework assignment of figuring out what she can do for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I still right now have this homework assignment on my hands. I told her I would get back to her today. So the bottom line is, reach out to the person and tell them something specific that you can do.
Yeah. To bring value to you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, speaking of that networking, you brought up having my dad on your podcast, or probably vice versa.
No, he hasn't had me on. I've had him on mine twice. That's yeah.
Oh, goodness. I honestly, like, my dad and I, college has been interesting. It's a little difficult to catch up sometimes. Like, he'll be like, oh, I didn't tell you that the new thing that I'm doing now. And I'm like, no. And he's like, oh yeah, I started it a month ago. And I was like, oh. So yeah, it's always interesting to stay in connection with him, to see what he's always up to. But in terms of that podcasting, you have been able to build this phenomenal podcast, very
Thanks.
well, of course, yeah. Well, very well published, you're really well revered. And I think it's fantastic. But one question that I probably am going to assume you get asked a good amount is that
Uh-huh.
it is so difficult to even find an email sometimes. How have you developed that networking skill? How have you reached out to people, and how have you been able to climb the metaphorical ladder to obtain some fantastic guests with some amazing value?
I'm a wizard with this stuff. Email's my game. I was like,
Oh.
I was doing one of our monthly professional podcaster calls, which is, the highest tier of our marketing agency for podcasters. And, every month you get 30 minutes with me. So, and we were going over how we're going to reach out to Grant Cardone for his podcast. And I'm just like, I'm having the time of my life writing the email. I was like smiling and like laughing and like I was just like I was having so much fun. And he's looking at me like I'm crazy, and so I just get a kick out of that, Like I just have a very specific way of with the template. It's a very personalized template. I'm like, hey Grant, next line. I know. I'm sure you're really. What is it? I know you're really busy. Gosh, what is it? I'm gonna go to my email right now, Ava. But before, so how do you get the email though? That's so. I'll talk about that while I find this email. Hunter.io. Are you familiar with the tool? Okay, so Hunter.io is a tool where I'm going to go to grantcardone.com, and whom I had on my podcast a little while ago, by the way. But I'm not making the introduction for my client. Number one, because to be very transparent, the relationship with me and Grant isn't really there the way it is with a lot of my podcast guests. And I want to teach him how to fish himself. It doesn't really benefit him long term if I just like give it to him. So I go to grantcardone.com and hunter.io, instead of .com, it's .io. It's a Chrome plugin, and I just hit this little red thing, this red icon in my browser now that I have it downloaded, and it pops up with every single email at grantcardone.com. So like Kelvin at grantcardone.com, events at grantcardone.com, and then, Grant at grantcardone.com. Great. There it is. Jared at grantcardone.com. I know who that is. And so if I can't, now some websites, that's either not their email. They don't have any emails associated with the website with that domain name, or they have some really, they have some blocker that prevents them from being detected.
Oh, okay.
And for that, I use a tool called Rocket Reach.
Wow. Okay.
And Rocket Reach is real. I've had amazing success with it. I just I type in someone's name, and most famous public figures will pop up. Like I recently used Rocket Reach for Cal Fussman. I don't know if you know him. Yeah, just me as an interviewer and me loving interviewing, and that being a craft I'm constantly working on. He's one of the interviewers I most admire. He's old school. He was, he did interviews for Esquire magazine back a while ago, and interviewed like Mikhail Gorbachev like almost 30 years ago, and like has interviewed everyone, like all the world leaders and Kobe Bryant. I was just listening to I've been listening to all. It's a shame, I've been listening to all Kobe interviews this week. It's been like that's the only until today when I was listening to Jordan Belfort. I've been getting through just all old Kobe interviews that I'd listened to before, but I was just listening to him again. But yeah, I looked up Cal Fussman on Rocket Reach and just typed his name in, and bam, came some emails, and it tells you like there's an icon next to it, like with we're 100% sure that this is a verified email, and then there's like 80% sure, and then there's like I love when it comes up with like at when a Gmail one comes up, it's like his personal email. And so I found that, and he's working on a book project right now, but we're going to look to doing it in the summer. And I just found him on Rocket Reach. So, and applied my template to that, which brings me to that. Hey, Grant, I'm sure you received quite the abundance of emails, so this will be quick. A few years ago, I heard you say millionaire is the new middle class, and it has stuck in my head ever since. I believe this is a fact. And so the reason there, I'm just saying something specific that I enjoy, or something specific that stuck out to me about the person and their work. Not just saying, Ava, love your work, because we get that all the time, Ava. We see like what about it do you love? Like if you really question them, they won't know what to say.
Well, your first thing is like it's probably automatic.
Yeah,
it's just like usually automatic responses, or you're like, oh, you're not really here for that. So when you get specific, it's true.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. Showing them that you've really been impacted by their work, but not gloating either, not like gushing, right? I did like 2 sentences. Now, so I'll do like 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 sentences there, something specific. Next line, I'm 22 years old and have interviewed James Altucher, Dan Millman, Mark Manson, Dan Locke, Naveen Jain, Gretchen Rubin, Jordan Harbinger, on and on, and others. I'd love to add you to this mix and create something special. Showing him that he can, everyone wants to be associated with those people. My show, Growth Mindset University, is all about learning the lessons we should have learned in school but didn't, to help people succeed in this progressive new age of business. And the honor will be entirely mine to host you as a means for continued promotion of your newest project. I don't like that I said newest project there. Usually I say something like, what I should have said is Cardone Capital, because that's his big thing right now. I should have inserted, it's pretty much insert latest book or new podcast or project here. Do you want to propose a few dates and times, or would it be easier to secure the spot really quickly on our calendar? Again, totally get how busy you are, so even a short reply would be great. Cheers to Manufacturing Amazing, Jordan. And I ask, is it easy? Did you want to propose a few dates and times, or is it easier to go ahead and secure the spot really quickly on our calendar? That's a double binding question. It's not like a yes or no question. It's a double binding question where both outcomes, it gives him the illusion of choice. The illusion of power. He controls it. He's got the control. Gives him the illusion of choice when in reality, both outcomes are just favorable to me.
Oh my gosh. So, like, Split the Difference, Art of Negotiation.
Yeah.
Good book. Yeah. Calibrated questions are really important.
Calibrated questions. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're fresh in my memory. I read that 2 years ago. Yeah. I think that's a mix of my learning, with calibrated questions with what's his name, Chris Voss, in that book. And then Chase Hughes wrote this book, The Ellipsis Manual, Analysis and Engineering of Human Behavior. And he in there goes over these double binding questions. So it's a combination of like 2 there.
I need to read. I interviewed Chase Hughes, but I haven't read it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a good guy.
Yeah, no, I love him. He had me talk to his son not so long ago.
I do remember seeing that a long time ago that you did interview him. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's super cool. But that's amazing. Like, thank you for sharing that template that gives, and Rocket Reach, I never even have heard of. So that's probably a super, super helpful tool for you and to everyone else that uses it to find those emails and get that outreach.
Very helpful.
Do you find yourself using Rocket Reach more often, or do you go through people? Because what I've noticed is that when you navigate around through people, through connections and networks, by being really friendly, that also has its own sort of benefit.
Oh, like people introducing you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've been, so many of the guests that you see on my guest list, I've been introduced.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a point where it was really 50 to 60% me being introduced. In the middle part of 2019, like I was just like, I had so much social capital built up, evidently, that I was getting these introductions sometimes without even asking. I wake up with an introduction to Dan Locke in my inbox one morning. I remember this Monday morning, it was great. I was like, yeah, I'll have him. They're like asking to have him on my podcast. I'm like, yeah, I'll have him.
Yeah, sure. Whatever.
And, and it was someone, I knew that facilitated that introduction. And, But where was I going with that? Oh yeah. So, but now for some reason or another, I've been very self-sufficient. Like,
Yeah.
Someone I'm interviewing Monday, Dan Schaubel, I was introduced to him. But other than that, right now, it's been a lot of me.
I think Jordan had some really great lessons and unique perspectives on going to college, especially his message, working for a higher purpose. If you want more information on Jordan's ideas on college, you can find the expansion article, Intentionality with Your College Experience, Money, Meaning, and the Alternative, in the bio below. Stay tuned for next episode, which comes out tomorrow. We'll be discussing more on his podcast, reading, and some good old-fashioned Robert Greene.